Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Now if you're a regular viewer here, you're probably aware this is the second watch that I've looked at on the channel in the last 6 months called the Nemo. Well, the first one wasn't actually called a Nemo, it was a Seiko Turtle Asian market limited edition, but because of its distinctive blue and orange colour scheme, the fanboys had already slapped that moniker on it. This one on my wrist today, the HKED EMG, is actually called a Nemo. Now EMG are three gentlemen who met on Watch You Seek, and I think they're now into their third successful new watch. They are really living every watch nerd's dream of starting your own successful micro brand. One of them is based in Hong Kong, one of them is based in the States, and the third, Derek, is based in Glasgow, Scotland. Now I happened to be in Glasgow, Scotland last month, and I met up with Derek and he gave me this prototype Nemo for review today. We must have looked like we were doing a drug deal. Two men standing in the middle of George Square exchanging a package in the pouring rain. It was great to meet you, Derek, and your watch is a cracker. And there's a reason that I'm wearing the Star Trek t-shirt today, and not just because I'm a massive sci-fi nerd. Let's flip the camera and have a look at the Nemo. So the Nemo is coming off the back of a successful Kickstarter campaign that was fully funded. They are currently taking pre-orders for these with the units due to ship in a couple of months' time. $450 US is the pre-order price. They will go up to $550 US thereafter. So as always with these things, the earlier you get in, the less you pay for it. I'll leave a link to the EMG website in the description of the video. And if you like the look of this thing, don't just take my word for it. Random Rob reviewed the white dial version a couple of months ago and he quite enjoyed it. Indeed, I would urge you to check out that video as well. So comes in a rather unusual cardboard container. I think only the Diana Henry watch that I looked at a couple of months ago has had some unorthodox packaging like this. But inside a more conventional watch roll. These are the traveller's friend. I urge you to pick one of these up if you do any kind of travelling with your watch or your watch collection. And inside, I've just found Nemo. So a watch designed by not one, not two, but three watch enthusiasts for the express purposes of having fun and doing something a little bit different. Has got to be good, hasn't it? And I think the Nemo delivers on that. Haven't really seen an awful lot like this. I mean, there are some retro divers. I guess this one, we're not in the 70s, we're not even in the 60s, we're all the way back to the 50s with this. Kind of atomic styling, some of the colour choices available, and that logo that I'll talk about in a minute or two, definitely more 1950s than anything else. Kind of thin bezel style, there's a few around like that, but nothing that looks quite like the Nemo. So I'm going to start with some dimensions and specifications, we'll do a loom video, movement accuracy report, and then get this one on wrist inside and outside. So just under 40mm in diameter, I measure at about 39.8. Similarly, just under 14mm thick, 13.8. Couple of those coming from that box domed sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on the top there. Rather unusual side profile, to be honest. I was slightly taken aback when I first saw that, but it kind of works. Now 46mm lug tip to lug tip, so a very compact lug tip, drilled as you can see. We'll come back to this case profile a little bit later on. 20mm lug width. Bit of taper on the beads of rice bracelet down to 18, back up to 20 at the clasp. Now, it's a prototype, so it's had a fair old walloping. Derek was wearing this when I met him, and it's going to be signed here at some point. I'm not sure where on the clasp, but they're going to sign the clasp for the production models, and they're going to sign that crown. Also, these beads of rice are kind of all the rage in 2018. I'll talk about the bracelet later on, but it is a good one. Wears very comfortably. The whole watch wears very nicely on wrist. Kind of hard for me to get a real judge on the quality of the finishing, but we've got a kind of mixed finishing. We've got a polish on the case sides, nice curvature downwards there, nice curvature inwards as well. I think that's the reason that it wears so nicely. And we've got a kind of radial brushing all the way around on those lugs. Brushing is adequate, I would say, rather than anything too spectacular. It's the dial though that really sets this one apart. 120 click unidirectional rotating bezel. Bezel action very, very nice indeed. Oops, one more click there for the OCD amongst you. Now, it's a ceramic bezel insert, but it's a matte finish, and it's fully loomed. I'll pop up a loom video in just a second or so, but very nice bezel action, easy enough to grip, but not going to knock it by accident. Now, zoomed right in on the dial, you can see some nice little details. Applied baton indices, double up there at the 12, nice silver polish, and filled with some loom. Alright, I'll pop up the loom video now. It's a good one today. You know I love my loom. Now this is C3 Superluminova X1 grade and pumped full of it. The dial, the hands, and the bezel insert. Interesting choices with the bezel, going to highlight the 5-minute increments rather than the usual 15, 30, 45, but with all the individual minutes accented all the way around as well. I think a good choice. Again, just marks this Nemo out as a little bit different from the pack, but lasts a good duration of time, just what you'd want from a diver. Handsets themselves, pretty simple hour and minute hands, little ridge down the centre though, very much like the SARB 035 that I reviewed a couple of days ago, and a paddle second hand. Nice use of colour there, swinging past the Nemo logo, as you can see, colour match to that, also colour match to the minute tracker around the outside, and the logo, very much 1950s atomic styling, very much like the Star Trek logo, hence the t-shirt. 10 points from the Scottish judge for that one. So beads of rice, perhaps one of you can illuminate me as to why we refer to these as beads of rice rather than grains of rice. When you drop rice on the floor, you don't say, oh damn, I've dropped some beads of rice on the floor, do you? Do you? Never mind. Anyway, very comfortable indeed. I was asked on Instagram if this was a hair nipper, but it's not. For some reason the hairs don't catch. All nice curved soft edges all the way around the outside. Now screw pins, this one has seen some use. I had to use a 1mm screwdriver on it, but no problem finding the right one. Clasp, as noted, will be personalised for the watch for the production run, and it's a proper scissor clasp as you'd expect for $4.50. Now popping a link to see the screw down stainless steel caseback helping this watch achieve 200 meters of water resistance along with a screw down crown, just advertising sapphire crystal, HKED 2018 and featuring a giant squid. The squid of course that attacked Captain Nemo's Nautilus, and you thought this was named after a Disney Pixar clownfish, didn't you? It also advertises the movement. This one features a 90S5. Now that is a no date variant of the 9015, the Miyota that we all know and love. 24 joules, Hacks hand winds, 28,800 vibrations per hour, roughly 40-hour power reserve. They are pretty accurate as well. I'll pop up the accuracy report. This one running away in the boxy winders for a week or so, coming in plus 1.5 a day. When you get a good one of these Miyotas, it is a fantastic movement. And I was pleased to note that you can't hear or feel the Miyota particularly through this fairly solid caseback, so all good. And in spite of my initial misgivings looking at that side profile, it wears very nicely indeed. As you can see there, that case back, the protrusion just kind of slips into the wrist, it kind of disappears. My Juno Ocean Rover does pretty much the same thing. It feels like a much slimmer watch on wrist as a consequence of that slightly unusual side profile. But really good looking watch this one, cohesive design with that bracelet and all the way to the dial colours and so on. There it is, zoomed out a little further for perspective. 144 grams this one, sized up for my 7-inch wrist. So it's maybe 20 grams lighter than a Submariner style piece. Not super light, but I think all those little links in the bracelet mean that it carries its weight very well, nicely balanced on wrist. And there it is outside, a nice mix of brushed and polished surfaces. You got those brushed lugs, polished side, polished crown, and a mixture of brushed and polished on the bracelet. All very nice, all very cohesive. Nice, well thought out design this one, I reckon. Moans and niggles. Well, I only have two. The first is the clasp. I've seen this clasp maybe 50 times before. It is pretty bog basic. Now, I think companies do themselves a disservice when they overlook the clasp. Surely it can't cost more than a couple of bucks to jazz that up a little bit, some chamfered edges, just spec it up 1 or 2 notches. It's a really tactile element. You're taking these watches on and off, I'm sure, daily, if not more often than that. If you change your watches multiple times a day, It would be nice if that was just a little bit more upscale than it is. And my only other complaint is the price. These were $370 plus shipping if you bought them on Kickstarter. That opportunity has now passed. $450 US, I think you're still okay. $550 US, I think that might be pushing it a little bit too far for these. You know, I've talked about this in the microbrand video. You don't always get amazing value for money. Sometimes you're paying for exclusivity. Sometimes you're paying for that design. You're paying for a powder blue or a yellow dialed 50s style dive watch, and there aren't too many of those. But $550, I might be struggling with that a little bit. So as always, if you're keen on one of these, get in before the price jacks up. So there you have it, another day, another Nemo. Really nice watch, this one. I do like it a lot. That beads of rice, grains of rice bracelet is so comfortable, doesn't nip the hairs at all, and in spite of that rather unusual looking case shape, this watch wears like a sweetie. Some great colours as well, and at $450 US, I don't think it's a bad package given the unique looks on offer. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.